Hey guys, welcome to the Leftington Post, where we believe that hypocrisy thrives in darkness, and we are dedicated to exposing it. Let me start off by saying social media can be a great thing, but it can also be a very bad thing, depending on who uses it. That being said, so many kids suffer from the negative effects of social media, and I think the biggest issue is that the powers that be don't take this seriously enough. Just like every other major issue that gets pushed aside. Take a look at fentanyl. It's killing over 100,000 people a year. Do you think they've taken this seriously? Because I don't. So then normal people have to start asking questions, such as what is the appropriate age for a kid to be using social media? Should there be parameters in place to protect children? Don't get me wrong, there are some things in place, especially when it comes to sexualizing children or pedophilia or child predators online. Those things, they seem to take somewhat seriously, even though I don't think it's enough. The standards for things like this are inconsistent at best. And there isn't even consensus on children using it, even within the Biden administration itself, who seem to be touting the age of 13 as an acceptable range for children to start using it. But Biden's own Surgeon General was on CNN giving his professional opinion on the issue. Let's take a look.
What is the right age for a child to start using social media? I worry that right now, if you look at the guidelines from the platforms, that age 13 is when kids are technically allowed to use social media. But there are two concerns I have about that. One is, I personally, based on the data I've seen, believe that 13 is too early. And I think that it's a time, early adolescence, where kids are developing their identity, their sense of self. It's a time where it's really important for us to be thoughtful about what's going into how they think about their own self-worth and their relationships. And the skewed and often distorted environment of social media often does a disservice to many of those children. But the other concern I have is that these rules around age are inconsistently implemented.
Okay, so at 13, we all know that children are still developing and they're at their most vulnerable because of puberty and entering into the teenage years of development. And the good doctor here doesn't even think that 13 is old enough to be on social media. But then you have Rachel Levine, who I'm not even going to dignify with the doctor title, and others who tell us that kids 13 and even younger have the ability to make decisions when it comes to their gender identity and, quote, gender affirming care. Just watch them push this garbage.
There is substantial misinformation about gender affirming care for transgender and gender diverse individuals. We are in this nation facing an onslaught of anti-LGBTQI plus actions at the state levels across the United States, and they are dangerous to the public health. The positive value of gender affirming care for youth and adults is not in scientific or medical dispute. So we all need to work together to get our voices out in the front line. We need to get our voices in the public eye.
To be clear, every major medical association agrees that gender-affirming healthcare for transgender kids is a best practice and potentially life-saving. All of this begs an important question. What are these policies actually trying to solve for? LGBTQI plus people can't be erased or forced back into any closets, and kids across our nation should be allowed to be who they are.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Kids who are at one of the prime stages of development, being susceptible to cultural influence, as stated by the Surgeon General, shouldn't be on social media, but should be inundated with inappropriate adult content, alternative lifestyles such as gender identity, sex toys, drag shows. Oh, and who can forget blue-haired teachers telling them what they feel like they are today, and who they want to rub their junk with. I know most productive people work, but it's getting to the point where if you don't homeschool your children, you're doing them a disservice by letting them go to those indoctrination camps. Honestly, think about it. How come over the past 5 years, maybe longer, young people who identify as an alphabet letter have skyrocketed over 20%, maybe more? Maybe. Just maybe it's because you're talking to young, impressionable people during the most crucial times of their development and influencing them with inappropriate adult content. But just like race, you have a huge contingent of people who are making money hand over fist on the rainbow crowd. This just started happening with the increase in influence over the past 5 to 7 years, and social media has a big part to play in it. But the key thing here is that we don't know the long-term consequences on society of what's being pushed right now. All the things being propagated right now to children is no accident. It's purposeful. Just look at a new popular show on HBO, The Last of Us. I love this show. The first 2 episodes were brilliant. Literally brilliant. From the filming to the story, it's been amazing so far. And then you come to episode 3, and it's literally a throwaway episode. It does nothing to further the story, but it's 60 minutes of 2 men bumping junk and planting strawberries. Now, what does this all mean? It's all about the money. And the left pretends to be compassionate, and it seems like they just want to make irrational arguments, decisions, and policy based on those irrationalities, but this is a red herring. It all comes down to greed. Follow the money. Who's making the money? Well, the healthcare industry, for one. Not only are the doctors, surgeons, psychologists, etc., financially incentivized, but they are also creating a whole demographic of people who are going to have issues far into the future for the rest of their lives. They are helping to create their own market. Now, because of these conversions, therapies, surgeries, and others, they paved the way for companies with products like tampons, makeup, and traditionally marketable towards women products. They're now also getting a piece of the pie, and they're marketing to men who identify as women. I think one of those trans TikTokers, the Dylan guy, just got sponsored by, what's that company, Ulta? Yeah, Ulta, ULTA. And I believe another by House Labs, which is a brand by Lady Gaga. So, like I said, follow the money. And in true liberal fashion, under the guise of compassion, just like race, the LGB rainbow is $1 billion industry just like that, for them to take advantage of at the expense of our young people. Thanks for watching, guys. If you find this video interesting, let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing for more.